The world of Mega Man X is filled with a new breed of robots. So much so that you only see one human in the series. These new robots are known as Reploids, and as the name suggests, are replicas. Being as X is the template, fans have debated, are X and Zero technically Reploids? Or are they just advanced robots? I'm Rockman HQ, and today we're going to break down on what is a Reploid and see if it applies to our heroes. Deep underground, in a hidden lab from years ago, Mega Man X is discovered by Dr. Cain, the most gifted roboticist and its leading authority of the 22nd century, who was amazed by such a robot. X, upon further inspection, was not just a robot. He was something more. He broke the boundaries of what the world knew as a robot. X was quantum leaps of robotic advancements of the current age. Fascinated by such a marvel, Cain studied Light's notes, and using them as a guide, he aimed to replicate the work. Though he never would come to understand everything completely, he would be successful in building his own, his first recreation, a replica of X, his first Reploid. Reploids are the new age robots that entered the world in the year of 21XX. They're unique to the robots of the past, in that they can think and feel for themselves. Not bound by programming or restrictions, these robots have a mind, or some might say a brain, that is identical to humans, thanks to a distress circuit. This special circuit is what gives them their humanity, allowing them to think, worry, and make decisions using their conscience rather than being bound to coding. Or rather, they can break the rules of their coding of their own will. The name he chose, Reploid, is a combination of two words: replica, a recreation, and android, meaning humanoid robot. Specifically, its shortened version, droid, meaning just robot. So by definition, Reploid means replicated robot. Other robots in the world are named similarly, as mechanoids breaking down into mechanical robot, which then defines itself as an autonomous robot, one that acts without deliberation. This concept of Reploids may seem familiar to the robots of the past, the ones commonly referred to by localization as robot masters and their peers. These robots displayed human-like qualities, such as Cain realizing that his line of thinking was wrong, Iceman being infatuated, Tundraman desiring to be something more than what he was programmed to be.
Didn't want to be a mean guy, want to be a dancer.
There were even similar circuits involved, such as Mega Man's own Conscience of Justice circuit that keeps him from running rampant. However, all of these robots were still bound by their programming. They couldn't break free, even if they wanted to. This type of robot, as described in Rockman X the novel, Irregulars Report, is autonomous thinking robots. Or in Rockman-san, they are referred to as robots with logic circuits, and is seemingly the bridge between mechanoids and Reploids. Kinda like Degraver, an enemy that has been labeled as both mechanoid and Reploid. Who knows what this little weirdo really is? While Reploids are often viewed as replicas of X, they're not a direct replica of him. More so just his internal makings, such as DNA traits and a distress circuit. After all, we have Reploids that come in the shapes of lions, tigers, and bears. Oh my. None of which really look like X, nor act like him. We see so many unique designs throughout the series that perhaps there is something more to the meaning of the word, rather than just being a descendant of X. But for that, we need to delve deeper into X. Reploids were born off the design of Mega Man X. From the notes left behind from Dr. Light, as well as reverse engineering the Blue Bot, Dr. Cain created the Reploid race. The name alone sparks the debate on if X himself is a Reploid. While X is referred to as a Reploid often enough, it leads one to wonder if this is just for simplicity's sake, or because his origins are unknown to the populace of the world. By the definitions we are provided of a Reploid, X meets the criteria to be classified as one. However, X isn't a replica of himself. That's just a flat-out impossibility, which sparks a debate on if he is, or isn't, a Reploid. Characters such as Cain tend to exclude X when talking about the race, alluding that he is something more. Other characters who know the truth of X's origins, like Sigma, still refer to him, and Zero, who we'll talk about later, as Reploids. Light's last message about Mega Man X is worded in a manner that X was never intended to be one of a kind, or rather, the only one of his species. The idea is always to expand on it, meaning Light envisioned Reploids even though the term wasn't considered then, with the idea that X was not one of a kind, rather the first of a robot line that was built to be just like a human. You could say the replica part of Reploid is referring to a robot replicating a human. In fact, this was explicitly stated in the novel Rockman X Irregulars report.
Those born from science, robots with a sense of self, machine life forms known as Reploids coexist with us. They are different from your ordinary machines, capable of thought, judgment, and action. They are beings created by and operating on advanced technology. In other words, they are androids who are replicas of humans. For that reason, they were given this name.
The details of this book are outstanding for how Reploid's brains and DNA work, as well as giving more depth to their initial production. The book isn't canon to the games directly, as it is mostly an amalgam of the games and mangas, but it's at least a means to grab a logical understanding of the world. I won't push it as hard fact, but I do believe it should be considered when theory crafting or philosophical discussions come up such as this. The foundation of Reploids is our blue hero, but his best buddy was made around the same time as him, and much like X, is often up for debate on classification. While Zero himself displays all the traits to be a Reploid, having a human-like mind, there's always the argument that he isn't based on X. Or is he? There are many coincidences surrounding Zero that one can question the truth to him. Sometime after Mega Man and Bass, Wily began conceptualizing Zero. While we don't know exactly when Light began designing X, we at least know it wasn't before Mega Man 8. These creations' development overlapped undoubtedly, and Wily has a strong history of stealing others' work and tweaking them. He really does copy homework, but make it not obvious. With Zero, he made a virus that attacks robots' distress circuit, something exclusive to Reploids and X, and not the robots of that time. Zero also has compatible parts with X, being able to transplant his Buster, and other parts if you want to count the manga. Zero then is also able to analyze and utilize Reploid DNA in a similar manner to X's variable weapon system. The system works for X because Reploids share his founding, and he's able to read and apply their weapon chips. For Zero to do the same, he would need a similar foundation, like X has, to the Reploids. These are very specific and unique situations that all coincide in the same run of games. It's almost as if Wily was spying on Light's work and recreating it. In fact, X-Dive states that's exactly something that happened and caused the creation of Kai. These may not be from the same timeline, but it shows the theory is possible. This could even explain Zero's temperament issues upon activation. Perhaps Wily didn't understand at the time the complexity of Light's work. At the end of the day, there is at least something shared tech-wise between X and Zero. And given his history, Wily likely didn't come up with this completely on his own. Off of definition alone, our heroes would be considered Reploids. However, it is hard to shake the thoughts that in instances, they are excluded from the race. Gate and High Max refer to them as old robots, and while not all robots are Reploids, all Reploids are robots. This could be them simply being condescending and using a slur to describe the two. Or it could be that they view them as totally separate beings from the race. It's not totally outlandish to see how they could come to this conclusion, even if they don't know the history. X and Zero display feats that put them above and beyond the newest and strongest Reploids. Cain himself, in the Day of Sigma, talks in a manner referring to X simply as a robot, which gives the impression that he views him separately, stating that X's unique worrying ability will allow the bridge between robots and humans to be crossed, implying he views X as more than a Reploid. This same idea is addressed in the novel by Sigma, stating that Reploids are able to quickly calculate outcomes in seconds, and thus they need not worry. How can X, another Reploid, allow such thoughts and potential outcomes to weigh on him? Later on down the old timeline, in the era of Mega Man Zero, we have X's 4 children, who were made of his own soul, because it split in the fist when he sealed the Dark Elf. Yeah, this is just one of those things you don't exactly question, you just smile and nod along to. These 4 Reploids are described as, the 4 of them are existences above Reploids, since they have X's cyber elves installed in them, which implies that because they are in a way X, they are above Reploids. I've often wondered if Reploids were classified by importance in the wake of an energy shortage, which could mean that they take priority in terms of repairs and recharging. Though oddly enough, the CD remastered tracks of Zero labels them as bioroids, a term rarely used, and when used, it's connected to cellular life, such as an X4 for a plant-based mechanoid, whose existence is due to a chemical failure, or a serpent who fused with a mechanical plant hybrid and became Warafu in this one weird shot manga. More about him in Obscure October 2024. We can only make assumptions as to why they are referred to as bioroids, likely due to the nature of them being made from Nexus DNA. It could be something like a classification, much like how there also exist the Mutos or Mythios Reploids. Generally, they are labeled as Reploids, which now brings us back to X and Zero. While some believe that a Reploid has to be a replica of X, or built on his tech, do X and Zero become Reploids by the end? Zero gains a copy body, which has been updated throughout the years. He's a replica. Is he not a Reploid at that point? Does that mean Omega wasn't a Reploid, even though Weil implanted a personality in him? Likewise, Copy X was intended to be a body for X, who decided to peace out rather than hang around. Had he taken it, would he then be a Reploid? These questions matter because they reflect on the theme of the Zero series. It's the heart that matters, not the body. Taking that into consideration, is the novel's definition of a human replica not the correct means to look on the situation? In the end, Reploids are beings that inhabit the Earth alongside humans, and are just robotic humans with cool weapons and designs. In due time, the two come together, and the lines between them would blur. When it comes to the OGs, if they are or are not Reploids, it kinda seems to depend on context. Generally speaking, they are. They meet the criteria to be a Reploid, and should be added in when discussing the race as a whole. However, when talking about their exemplary abilities, they should be regarded as being something just a little bit more than a Reploid. An anomaly. Those instances are rare though, so as far as I'm concerned, the two are. And that's all I have on the Reploid world. It's a complex topic that has ragged on for ages, and at the end of the day, not everyone is likely going to agree. What do you think on the topic of them? Let me know your thoughts below! And I suppose now I'm supposed to tell you to subscribe and like and all that fun junk for new videos whenever I feel like making them. But honestly, I've been a little distracted lately, so they may be a little bit more spaced out. I've been having fun customizing model kits. I've been playing Make a Good Mega Man Level 3. There's quite a bit in that, so that one's going to take me a while to finish. But yeah, I'd rather just end the video showing that, because that's a really fun fan game. I highly recommend everyone checking it out. Okay, for real now though, bye!